On this episode, we're trying to figure out how to debug a seg fault in firmware. Hey everybody, what's up? Thanks for tuning in for today's product journey update. Remember, we're trying to get the hockey puck to a product level of polish, and I've got the display displaying things with my custom firmware that I've been working on from scratch. It is flipped on the x-axis, and that has to do with the program that creates these header bitmap things from an image. And so, but I am able to get this to display. However, as soon as it displays, I get a flashing SOS on my photon saying that it's a hard fault, something's going wrong in my code. And I've looked over my code just a little bit. There's nothing glaring at me. A hard fault is going to be something like I'm accessing memory that doesn't exist, you're going outside of some array boundary or something like that. It's not anything like a Stack Overflow. There's separate SOS codes for that. And so just trying to figure that out. And what I was hoping I could do, I have this programmer shield from Particle that you can put your photon in and hook up to your computer, and you can debug. You can actually put breakpoints in your firmware and get down to the bottom of things. When we're debugging firmware, it's much harder than when we're debugging software. Software, you've got lots of IDE support. Just put in a breakpoint, hit debug, run in debug mode, and you're hitting breakpoints, you're stepping through and things like that. It's much harder on firmware to do that. I thought this was gonna make it super easy, but it turns out that there's a bunch of steps to set this up. And then I have to make changes to my firmware because I can't use certain pins, which are the JTAG pins on the photon. And so there's a bunch of stuff that this is going to take me a while to set up. So what I'm going to do is go back to the old school way of debugging, which is using a bunch of print statements. This is where just in your code, you do serial print statements at various points to see where it's getting and when it bombs out, to see if you can localize what that line of code is. Whenever you're debugging, whether it's software, firmware, my approach is always, and I always ask other people this, what line of code is blowing up? And it's really that simple to me. You just find the line of code where everything is fine, you step once more, and the whole thing blows up. You know that that's where the problem is. You may have created the problem further up in your code by initializing something or forgetting to initialize something, but you can always localize this down to start with to a single line of code. And so that's what I'm going to be working on tonight, trying to find that single line of code that's causing the flashing red SOS on my particle photon. So that's what's up. Just trudging through it. I mean, once we can get past all this screen stuff, I think things are going to be a little bit smoother sailing. Maybe that's just naive optimism, but that's what I'm hoping for. So that's the update for today. I appreciate everybody watching the product journey here on Daily IoT. I hope everybody has an awesome week and tune in for tomorrow's update.